time now for the day's business news, and for that I'm joined by Yuka Roy here in the studio. Hi, Yuka. Yuka, John McAfee, the creator of the world's first commercial antivirus software, has died in what looks like a suicide.
Well, the software mogul was found dead in his prison cell in Spain just hours after a court ruled in favor of extraditing him to the United States, where he would face tax evasion and other charges punishable by decades in prison. The 75-year-old fugitive was arrested at Barcelona airport last October as he was about to fly to Istanbul. The cybersecurity engineer launched the eponymous antivirus in the late 1980s. The product is now owned by Intel following its acquisition of the company in 2010. Now, as well as being a pioneer in this field, McAfee was known for his eccentric behavior. Last year, he even unsuccessfully ran for US president. McAfee had been running away from a host of legal troubles, including accusations that he orchestrated a fraudulent scheme to take millions of dollars from cryptocurrency investors. In one of his latest tweets, though, as you can see there, he claimed that he had no hidden crypto assets. Here's the author of McAfee's biography reacting to the news.
John McAfee pioneered the antivirus industry, full stop. You know, he was the guy that really brought it to the masses and brought it to corporate America and in a way infected all of us with his paranoia. We're all very scared, and there are certainly cases where you should be scared of viruses and technology in general. But with John, you were never quite sure what was real and what wasn't.
Now, meanwhile, Yuka, the United States has moved to sanction Chinese solar panel makers. This is over human rights abuses against the Uyghur minority.
The Biden administration has ordered a ban on imports of a key solar panel material from a Chinese firm based in Xinjiang over allegations of forced labor. The Commerce Department also restricted exports to 5 Chinese companies that it said were implicated in human rights violations there. About 45% of the world's supply of polysilicon, a key component of solar panels, is produced in Xinjiang. Last month, researchers at Britain's Sheffield Hallam University published a report saying that the material was being obtained under a massive system of coercion, urging panel makers to source it elsewhere.
Meanwhile, President Biden's infrastructure spending plan has got the backing of a group of bipartisan senators.
A group of 21, that's what they called it. A bipartisan group of senators said that they had agreed on a framework of an infrastructure bill. They will meet President Joe Biden later this Thursday. The plan initially called for $2.3 trillion in spending. It was later trimmed down to $1.7 trillion, but still failed to win Republican support in Congress.
What about the markets, Yuka? How are they shaping up today?
Well, Asian markets are a bit of a mixed bag this Thursday. In a relatively calm trading session, investors are still keeping a close eye on any policy moves over inflation, though. As you can see, Tokyo's Nikkei just down below the flat line, Shanghai Composite almost on the flat line, Hong Kong rising slightly more than others.
And finally, Yuka, here in France, a court has overturned a ruling restricting sales of a product linked to cannabis.
Cannabidiol, it's called, or CBD. It's a non-psychotic compound derived from hemp that is increasingly being sold around the world. Without ruling, though, whether it was legal or not, France's highest court reversed an earlier decision to ban its sale. Proponents say the decision will help boost the industry, as Jean-Emile Jamin reports.
Measured, weighed and ready for consumption. These are cannabidiol flowers, derived from hemp plants, and until now it was illegal for them to be sold in stores across France. But the country's highest appeals court has overturned that ruling, allowing the sale of CBD as long as it had been legally produced by a member state of the European Union.
Today, it allows us to be more legitimate, saying that these EU laws are enforceable on member states and that member states have to follow them.
CBD has long been researched for various medical applications, with users also finding the non-psychotic compound useful as a relaxant. Now, as a result of its health and wellness purposes, cannabis stocks have attracted growing interest across world markets. In 2020, the global cannabidiol trade was valued at $2.8 billion, and it's set to increase another 25% this year. French distributors say the new law will help them latch on to this growing trend.
It's a good thing because France is finally allowed to grow cannabis for purposes other than the textile industry. So this is going to give work to farmers who are struggling. For us distributors, as we now have more than 10 employees, this is going to provide jobs in an economic situation that is affected by the health crisis. So there are only positive things.
Cannabis in general is still outlawed in France. However, the country's Economic Council have advised that legalized recreational use would raise an estimated revenue of $3.3 billion per annum, with the potential to create 80,000 jobs.
All right, legalizing cannabis altogether, perhaps the next step here in France. Yuka Roy, thank you very much for that business update. We're going to have to leave it here and take a short break, but stay with us. We'll have more news coming up in just a bit.